People who have been on game shows, what are some things that watchers don't know? As a phone a friend on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, there is no rule against Googling. Instead of studying, I practiced Googling all kinds of esoteric subjects. For a few weeks, I helped my friend win $50,000. In the UK version that airs now, Clarkson says something along the lines of, "Can we just confirm you are sitting with a member of our team?" to the phone a friend, so ensures they can answer without doing any research. I assume the friend is sitting backstage, rather than a random production member, going out to people's houses, but who knows. I dated a guy who was on Chopped. He said, it's not as rushed. That they are allowed to have sips of alcohol, if they're using it in the food. The one that bothered him was that they were super encouraged to take swipes at each other, and he's a really nice guy. Wife and I tried out for Supermarket Sweep in 2021. We did a Zoom call with the casting people, but didn't get the call. I think 1. We got too many answers right. 2. We weren't enthusiastic enough. They really went hard on this, like jump up and down, and scream, "Give us more, more, more." It was exhausting. We got too many answers right. I've heard people trying out for a Wheel of Fortune say the same thing, that they did really good in the practice round they do, and never got a call back. It makes sense, if you watch the show, and see some of the misses people have. When someone is too good, it doesn't give people at home a chance to get the puzzle, plus, player got all the puzzles quickly, doesn't move the needle as much as, look how bad this guess was. When it comes to headlines and social media, I was on The Price is Right. The stage is much smaller, and the colors, including Bob's makeup, were much brighter than what you see on TV. They took my SSN, in case I was picked for tax purposes. Everyone said to act enthusiastically to get picked, but I couldn't fake it, not my personality. Despite that, I got picked. I must have been wearing a good outfit for TV or something. I ended up winning a lot of dollars on Plinko. Yes, the spinning wheel is heavy. Edit, I did not kiss Bob. They kinda suggested you do it, but no way I was going to. I just wanted to get off that stage and call my mom. I won the Showcase Showdown on The Price is Right back in 2012. The day is long. Started standing in line around 6 a.m., then you're put through quick interviews. They ask, what's your name, where you're from, and what do you do, work? I have no idea why they picked me, because my answers were pretty unenthusiastic, as I was just happy to be in the audience. My guess was that I was a young 23-year-old woman with okay legs. You truly do not know if you will be called to come on down until the moment of, yes, the wheel is heavy. After the show, you're pulled into a back room to discuss prize acceptance, paperwork, and taxes. You also sign an NDA, declaring you will not tell others the outcome of your episode, which airs 3 months after filming. The prizes are truly nice and high quality. I won 3 international trips in the showcase, and the locations and accommodations were incredible. Tell us more details about your trips. Where did you go? Any other cool prizes? Trips were for 1 week for 2 people. Everything was included, except most meals and spending money. Some meals and excursions were included though. Trips were to Marrakesh, Morocco, Salzburg, Austria, and Ambergris Caye, Belize. They hook you up with a travel agent to organize everything, too. I was in the audience for Deal or No Deal once. There were a couple running gags that didn't make the TV cut. They also took the secrecy of the briefcase contents very seriously. One of the briefcases got dropped, and it opened. I don't think anyone saw the number inside, but that was enough for every one of them to be taken back behind the stage and re-randomized. No one hails the cash cab. It's all a setup, though. The contestants don't necessarily know they're about to be one cash cab. They also pull you out of the cab after the initial scheme, set everything up, then send you on your way. You also get a check, not the actual cash. My sister went to NYU, and when she was out at a bar with some friends, this guy was chatting her and her friends up, and was casually asking them trivia questions, and they were all having a great time. He then slipped them all his card, and said he worked for the Discovery Network, or whatever channel it was on, and asked if they wanted to be on a TV show that went to different restaurants in the city. They all were totally stoked, and said, yes of course. They made arrangements the next day via his number on the card, and he said, to be ready to be picked up at X intersection at X time. My sister was unable to go, because of a prior commitment, but when the friends showed up, it was the cash cab. So, they knew they were going to be filmed for a show, they were just misled about what it was, so, they would act surprised, when they got in. I was inadvertently on Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal. Got recruited, for what was told, was a TV network filming a documentary on trivia nights across the US. Showed up, played trivia, came in second, and about 2 years later, I start getting texts and calls from people recognizing me on the show. It was episode 1, where the guy lied to his trivia team about his credentials. Turns out, we lost to the guy, who was involved with the show, which is annoying, cause if you've seen the episode, you'd know it wasn't exactly a truthful win. Got paid to drink beer, and play trivia though, so, overall, a fun time. I had a cousin win my country's version of Survivor. He finished the final competition about 45 minutes before everyone else, but the producers cut it in a way that made it seem like he barely won, with just a few inches ahead of second place. But I guess that's to be expected with reality TV. Another fun fact, the host of the show tried to get all of the women to gang up and get my cousin voted out, and it was so bad that the producers had to step in and tell him to stop. That part didn't get aired, of course. Also, the host of the show, who was a respected TV host in my country at the time, was a raging alcoholic during the whole trip. Edit. Another thing I remembered was that they had to halt the shooting of the show and get the contestants into hotels on the mainland for around 2 months, because a lot of the people got hit by some kind of virus or bacteria that made a lot of them extremely sick. I've been on 6 game shows, from 1983 until around 1997. They mostly shot 5 episodes each day. So, it's a long day. They start with reviewing rules, your wardrobe, and signing contracts, etc. Eventually, you play practice games on the actual set. Food is provided all day long. Generally, episodes were shot 3 months before airing, and I didn't receive any money or prizes until 1 month after airing. Of course you pay taxes on any prizes or cash. You can refuse any. Well, I refused a trip to Australia. Most travel prizes are for off-season, and the window was only 2 months. My wife would have been 8 and 9 months pregnant in that window, so she did not feel like being on such a long flight. Not what you asked, but other times I posted this on Reddit. I got asked what shows I was on. I'll only mention the 3 where I won. Catchphrase, now you see it, The Weakest Link, daytime version. I was on a show where someone in the audience blurted out the answer before I could. They stopped production, removed the audience member, took me off stage, reset the entire round, and started over. The kicker is, I knew the answer anyway, and the new round had a category I knew absolutely nothing about. Audience member, cost me $30,000. That's super lame. I would be pissed if I were you. You would hope they would invite you back, or something. I was really bummed at the time. It's been about 15 years since then. I hadn't thought about it for years, until just now. No big deal. It was free money anyway, I didn't actually lose anything, and I had fun playing. Not me on the show, but my dad. In the early days of Countdown, UK show, during the Richard Whiteley era, so, mid-1980s, if the numbers game was a particularly tricky one, they weren't solved by Carol Vorderman immediately, at the end of the round, as portrayed on TV. Rather, she would work on it as the program continued, and would record her solve later, which would then be edited in to make it look like she had solved it there and then. If it was a really difficult one, then Carol didn't solve it at all. It was a behind-the-scenes guy, called Michael Wiley, that worked it out, and then Carol would present it as though she had solved it herself. Same with Dictionary Corner. I was on when I was at uni. 1-2 days filmed on the Monday, and then went out with the crew on the beers, and was ruined for the next day. Struggled through 1 episode, and then lost my 4th, with a truly horrific performance that directly correlated with my monster hangover. If we'd have filmed them all on the first day, I reckon I could have octo-champed, but I would say that. Following up the Carol anecdote, Dictionary Corner also benefited from the producer helping find words with the lexicographer and guest. At the time, not sure now, it was Mark Nyman, who was a world-class Scrabble player at the time. A helpful voice to have in your ear. On Jeopardy, there are tiny lights surrounding the game board that aren't visible on camera. You can't ring in until the lights flash, and if you try before the lights flash, you get locked out for a couple of seconds. That's why, you see people, rapidly clicking, the signaling device. Tried out, for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, years ago. Had to be in Manhattan first thing in the morning, to take a test in a room of maybe 50 people. They quickly grade the test, while asking, who had the longest drive-in, who's the youngest, or oldest. Results come in, and probably 35 people are out the door, not scoring high enough. Myself and everyone who stayed back, are told we would meet with the producers of the show, pretty sure they were just interns, and our pictures were taken. During the interview, I talk about being a veteran, and try to sound interesting, LOL. I mention, the only question I struggled with was, what cosmetic company is Halle Berry a spokesperson for? We wrap it up, and I'm told, I would be notified, if I would be put in the contestant pool. A week later, I get the, no thank you, card. Oh, and on my way to the train station, every other picture, is Halle Berry, and effing Revlon. Was, on Let's Make a Deal. 1. The camera lenses, tend to make the studio look larger than it is, in real life. I was surprised how much smaller it felt, sitting in the audience. 2. They do a group interview thing, before the show starts, to help pick people, and weed out the ones that won't make for good TV. 3. They have costumes there you can pick from, but if you bring your own, you're more likely to get picked. They'll make you ride a bus to the studio, though, so, make sure, your costume can fit in the seat. I learned that, the hard way. 4. They tell everyone, to stay smiling and hyped the whole time, because if they picked you from the interview process, they can change their mind, at the last minute, before Wayne calls you, if they think the cameras will pan to you and you look like a sourpuss. This makes everyone there stay really energetic the whole time, which I thought was clever. 5. Lastly, I know this makes me sound like a psycho, but Wayne Brady smells amazing. I was on Let's Make a Deal too. We didn't have to ride a bus. It was a short walk to the studio. It was a fun day, but very exhausting. They came up to me and the girl next to me, at a break, and said, one of us was up next, and reminded us what interesting fact they wanted us to share, if Wayne asked. Wayne picked the girl next to me, and she won $3,000. The only other thing to add is, the car pong table got pulled out, at a commercial break, by some guys, and the shot of it rolling out all cool was pre-recorded. I did not get to smell Wayne. I was on Slime Time Live, as a kid in the early 2000s, back when they filmed it at Universal Studios Florida. They picked the contestants that are going to play, in advance, and then put us in the crowd, and announced us on air, and told us, to act surprised. The host was a jerk, and wouldn't talk to the contestants, off-air. The two co-hosts were a lot nicer, though. Also, the slime is cold, and takes multiple washings, to get out of your hair. I was in the green room, when one of the other episodes was being taped, and we had a CCTV, with a live feed in it. On a couple of occasions, the contestant in the bonus round, didn't even come close to winning the bonus round, so, they retaped the entire bonus round, to make it look like, they almost won. On a different show, they were having audio problems, during one wrong answer I gave, so, they had to re-record me, giving the same wrong answer about 5 times. After one take, I turned to the live audience, and jokingly said, gee, you'd think, I'd get the right answer, one of these times. I was on Ink Master, which is not exactly a game show, for human canvases, involves a prize, so, I'm posting, LOL. The show was set in NYC, and even had city backdrops in the opener, but it was filmed in a studio in NJ. The artists all had personas to play, selected by the producers, and did their best to abide. Most of the judges, barely stuck around set, they'd filmed their stuff, in quick succession, then left, and they edited to make it seem like, they were always there. The art was real, obviously, but there was much more time than depicted, spent on deciding. I remember, it taking forever to film the skull pics, though, because we had to be given the skills with the name on the bottom, film that, wait, then read the name slowly. It took 2 days, to film a 30-minute episode. All in all, it was an amazing experience. I was on Jeopardy in 2021, then again in 2023. It was literally the most fun of my life, plus, I got lucky, and won over $50,000. When they asked me, back in 2023, I had to turn them down, because I won't cross a picket line, and it broke my heart. Fortunately, I got the text again, after the strike was over, but that time, I lost. Before I went, my self-talk was, don't worry about winning, All things equal, you will lose. Just don't bring shame upon your family by betting or answering stupid. My one idiot moment came from leaving the verb out of an FJ answer and asking, "Who's Nathaniel Hawthorne?" I took quite a bit of shit for that. In the early 80s, a friend's family got to be on Family Feud, and I got invited to be in the audience. Among many revelations, to a kid who had been raised on the TV, Richard Dawson was way more creepy in person than he appears on TV, and he had to stand behind the set pieces and chain smoke in between takes. It was so odd to see how he could just turn himself on and off like that. On camera, a totally different person, warm and friendly; off camera, sullen and hungover looking. He did not look like a happy man. What a trip that was. I was on Love Connection decades ago. They did keep us separated from the guys we dated before we revealed if we wanted a second date. They choose 3 guys, and you have to pick one to go on the date. Plus, they give you a long list of things you can't do on the date, like go to the movies. They want you to interact. They give you notes on what to say based off of what you told them after the date. Chuck Woolery had cue cards, and it appeared he was looking at you, but he was only looking at the cue cards. Wasn't quite a game show, but some friends and I did the Red Bull Fluke Tag in Tampa in 2008. They had an audition and application phase where you had to drop off your plans and what you were going to try to design to fly off the pier. They chose us and about 30 other people. We had to agree to news interviews and promotions that were set up by the marketing team. We were building our craft in my backyard, and the news came out to my home a couple times. The day of the event blew my mind. There was hundreds of thousands people there. It was nuts. Hundreds of boats, people in the parking garages watching, the hotels, all had people out on the balconies. It was absolutely insanity. They lined us up around the block like a parade, and everyone did their skit and went off the barge. It was a lot higher up than I thought it was going to be. I think it was between 30 to 40 feet off the water. It was pretty high. They gave us all safety briefings, telling us how to tell the lifeguards on jet skis that we were okay or hurt. They keep it quiet, but a lot of people got hurt. Tampa General Hospital was just across the water from where the event was. Tampa Convention Center. The ER had quite a few people in it from the event, including my cousin, who was the pilot. Cousin shattered his nose, broke it big time. I don't think they do that event anymore. Heard lots of people got hurt. One person broke their back, too. Was super fun. I have some videos on YouTube from the event. I was a winner on Wheel of Fortune 10 years ago. There's only one big wheel they have to transport it to other taping locations, if not in LA. I was, and that effort is heavy. As part of prep for the actual taping, they have everyone practice the proper way to spin it. Left hand grips the padded rail in front of you, right hand pulls the wheel toward you, and continues the momentum to push the wheel along its spin. They tell us not to try aiming for a specific space, because it's too obvious and too hard to control. I was on Masterminds, Tug of Words, and soon, the 1% Club. I won $10K on Tug of Words, and the other 2, I did really well, but I didn't make any money. One of the things that is very surprising is how long it actually takes to shoot an episode. It's 22 minutes of airtime, but it takes a little over an hour, maybe an hour and a half. We do the commercial breaks live. But a lot of the game is just shooting reactions and doing extra takes when the game show host flubs a line. About the same amount of time was shooting the game show host rereading stuff as it was us playing the game. One thing about the 1% Club that was interesting is that they asked a question and it's silent. You have 30 seconds, or whatever, to answer on your iPad. Then they don't let you know if you get it right or wrong, but they reshoot the exact same scene, but the host makes jokes. They do this so you can concentrate on answering, and then they splice the two together later. Since the show had 100 people, it was definitely the longest shoot. It was about 4 hours. Luckily, I was in the game until the very end, so I wasn't like one of those people who missed the first question, who had to sit there for 3.5 hours, doing nothing. You also have to get there insanely early and wait. The call time for all 3 of my shows was like 6:30, I think? And then you maybe shoot around 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock. You're pretty tired and exhausted all day, because you probably didn't get a lot of sleep the night before. For me, because I came up from San Diego, and because I had to get up at 4:30. to get ready. Finally, I'd say that they actually do want you to win, and they try as hard as they can to prep you to do well. They honestly want charismatic, funny, charming people to entertain. They have it in the budget for you to win. It's the advertiser's money. I was also in 2 different commercials. One for Tug of Words and Masterminds. That was pretty cool. I'm even on some commercial ad for some word game that has nothing to do with Tug of Words. They just used my footage from my episode to advertise a shitty app. I've gotten tagged on that about 100 times on Facebook, lol. Oh, that's the last thing, you don't get paid until it airs on TV, 'cause that's where your money comes from. I did one show in October, and got paid in February. A friend of mine interned at a radio station in high school. I got to help him with some of the rush hour time slot productions. When the DJ did the caller number 9 is the winner thing, he'd just pick the first person that had the most upbeat and radio-friendly voice. They splice and edit the sound bites together while the music or commercials are playing to make it sound like they were the 9th caller when they were usually the 2nd or 3rd. I was a contestant on The Weakest Link, the American version with the main lady. It was their HS episode. What you don't see is a huge clock counting down right in front of all of the contestants. It's very nerve-wracking. Also, they told us she picks on the ones she likes, and boy, she loved me. So much never made it to air, but it was so much fun. Also, none of us were random people that tried out. We were all agency kids. Whether modeling or acting, all of us had representation. It helped the process with minors, so they knew we were screen tested. In filming days, you are not allowed to go anywhere alone. Once within the confines of the studio building, you have to be accompanied by a member of the production team at all times, including to use the toilet, in order to prevent any possible chance of cheating. I was a contestant on Millionaire, and can confirm the above. They also make you sign numerous NDAs, and speak to a psychiatrist prior to filming, to ensure you are mentally prepared and able for any potential fame or large sums of money if you happen to win big.